Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics pre-lockout chat ahead of round 10. And yeah, a bit of carnage flying around here for a lot of us, and a lot of people have probably already locking themselves into 2 forced trades, and who knows what the weekend holds ahead of us. For those listening back to the pod, it is Friday the 16th of May, and we are about an hour and a half away from the Friday night footy getting underway. So, yeah, looking forward to that. I'm your host, Bales, and you can find me at BAILSDT across the socials. And joining me, normally on a Friday, I don't normally get a co-host jumping on because everyone's pretty busy, but we do have fellow co-host and AFL Fantasy Fanatic, Jordox. Jordox, mate, how are you?
Good, mate. Yes, no, excited to jump on. I'm just on the freeway heading home, so I thought I'd jump on and talk some fantasy before the weekend befalls us.
Yep, exactly, mate. How are you dealing with, obviously, a bit of carnage? Obviously, TDK's been ruled out for tonight with the larynx injury suffered at training. Still don't know why that wasn't put on the injury report on the Tuesday and why it was so secretive up until yesterday. But anyway, we deal with that. We also have Jaiden Short, who, again, wasn't listed on the injury report. Comes out today. They had calf soreness and he's withdrawn. So this issue with the AFL and the club's injury reporting is just beyond a joke. Like, clubs taking the mickey out of not doing this. But anyway, Short is missing this week as well. We've got maybe Bias on the benches, people thinking maybe it's up. I don't think he will be, but there is a chance of that. You've also got Jason Horne-Francis, who's apparently been feeling ill the last couple of days. Reports are he will be playing, and they're adamant he'll play, but obviously we'll find out that. And obviously a few other things like Asado Hawley, Cooper Simpson, rookies, people don't know if they're going to be sub or not. So how are you dealing with all this carnage?
Jordox, go again. Just cut out that last second.
Oh, yeah, no, I just said, how are you dealing with all the carnage?
Yeah, there's a fair bit going on. So I don't have Horne-Francis, so I'm not worried there, but I do have Short and De Koning. And I know it's frustrating, Bales, but props to Richmond for at least telling us today. They could easily have waited till Sunday and done a late change on us. Then we'd all be stuffed.
Yeah,
which they did last week. So for me, I think I'm pretty comfortable with what I'm doing, but a lot rides on Bice not being the sub tonight. So I've done De Koning to Marshall. That's fine. That's locked away. And then the other move is either going to be either Short maybe to Nick Martin or Bice to Nick Martin. But if it's Bice to Nick Martin, then I have to play El Hawley on field, which is another sub risk. So fingers crossed Bice avoids the sub, because I could probably even trade Short, loop Bice and have a look at him.
Yeah, exactly. That's obviously the one from tonight. Looking at Sydney's team sheet, I was saying to you guys just before we started recording, that looking at Sydney's team, they've got James Jordan named at half back, Sheldrick on a wing, and McInerney named at half forward. McInerney's been playing as a wing, so you chuck him there. Jordan's been playing as a half forward and tagging. So that I assume that Bice will just start on the field at half back, and Sheldrick will be on the bench, and he'll come on as that extra midfielder, that first interchange. So that's just
you'd think if they wanted to put Bice to the sub, surely they would have just put him back to the twos for a week. I mean,
yeah. He's been really good.
We'll find out.
He's been good. Yes, exactly. So we'll find out very shortly. And jumping on, as he has done a few times on the Fridays especially, but jumped on the Sunday night review. It is 2024 runner-up, coach of Palm United, Tom Hales. Tom, mate, how are you?
I'm good. Good to chat some fantasy on a Friday night. Had a positive Thursday night, so I'm in a good mood. The round can end now. I'm very happy.
I think you had Newcomb.
Newcomb won 2-3.
Delightful.
I got him in at the start of the quote-unquote Green Mile, and he's been so-so, but it's nice to get a big one, especially on a carnage week where a lot of maybe the average scores might be a bit lower, or teams going to get more similar through forced trades. It's nice to get a pod to start your week off in a good way.
Yep,
that was a low-scoring game too.
Mm-hmm. Yep, he was awesome.
3 tons.
Yeah.
Yep. Which is good, yeah. But I guess we'll quickly just touch on that. So obviously last night, John Newcomb was very good with a 123. Noah Anderson, who is someone I've been keeping a pretty close eye on as a downgrade option. He scored a 116. So obviously we'll chat about him on Sunday night. But I dare say he'll be a pretty good target in the midfield. So he'll be under 950K next week, which I think is a pretty good price for him. And unfortunately for those owners that jumped on a Jath, got a bad score, unfortunately, with a 34. Hopefully, if you brought him in because he was cheap, you looped him maybe if you had a red dot. But if he was on field for you, condolences, because that was an awful score there. Noble also had a pretty good score, 116. Dylan Moore had a really good first half, only 26 points in the second half, but saw a little bit more signs of life from Dylan Moore. Tough matchup up in Darwin. So I think Dylan Moore under 700K is still going to be someone that we might be looking at during that buy period. So, and there's a few other guys that maybe some people have got, but besides that, nothing too real noteworthy from there. So we do have a couple of super chats flying through. We'll answer those in a second, but you guys do get guaranteed answers on here. So appreciate the super chats there. But Tom, what have you looked at doing with your trades this week? So did you have any of those bullets that I mentioned at the start? And what are your trades this week?
Yeah. So I'm pretty similar to Jordox. I have TDK, I have short. I don't have JHF, which is nice. But I would like to play Bice. I basically have two trades in mind. If Bice isn't the sub and gets a starting role, I'll hold him and trade short up to a Sinclair, and I'll do the very standard TDK to Marshall as well. And this shouldn't come into my fantasy, but my season's not going great, and I'm going to the West Coast St Kilda game on Sunday, so I'm going to enjoy watching Marshall and Sinclair play in person. So
mate, there's
nothing
nothing wrong.
but
nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. It's a few people have done that, and sometimes works out pretty well. So hopefully it does for you.
Sinclair's got a great run, as well as Marshall being like 150, 200K under what he started the year at. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. And then for me, I traded Jaiden Short last week and held Caleb Daniel. I was just slightly worried, I guess, with I traded him, end up thinking about, I was like, well, we don't know what this knee injury is. It was sort of reported. I was out watching UFC, so I'm just, I got to trade and kept Caleb Daniel, but obviously that meant Foss was on field. So I'm about 140 odd points behind. So I don't think I'll be catching that up at least this week anyway. But I've gone TDK to Marshall. That's just, I guess, a pretty sort of straight swap. A lot of people got Cherry, or if they're doing Cherry, they're obviously just going up to him. And then I'm going Clayton Oliver out up to Max Holmes. I thought about Sinclair, thought about Josh Dacos around that price, and I just thought the round 16 buy for Max Holmes is what gets it done for me. I know that the matchup this week isn't great, so I'm not expecting a 115, 120 score, even though he has turned up in 2 games in a row against Port Adelaide. I do think that him for his buy will help, because worst case, I trade him in his buy and get someone in off their buy. So that's what I'm thinking there. But I do like Sinclair and I do like Josh Dacos as options, but feel like if I'm bringing in Filippo in a week or so, I might start getting too heavy on round 13. So that's my thinking there. We do have a couple of super chats, so we'll get to those now. So Buki Boonda said, just asked a question and forgot to put the super chat in. So thank you, mate, for putting in the super chat. Very much appreciated. So Jordox, he's saying, good morning from the Netherlands, which I know Buki is from the Netherlands. So we appreciate any international listeners. It's pretty good that we're going worldwide. Fantasy Fanatics is fantastic. So thank you, Buki. Trade plans changed up because of short out. It was going Hayes and Lindsay out to Simpson and Peatling. But now I'm thinking either Short and Bice out and Josh Dacos and Holmes in, or Short and Hayes out to Whitfield and Simpson, or leave my trades as is. I would be trading, I think Short's got to go. Personally. So, Jordox, where are you going there? Are you going Short and Bice to Josh Dacos and Max Holmes, or are you going Short and Hayes to Whitfield and Simpson?
Ooh, I reckon
cash in the bank. Lovely.
Yeah, I reckon Whitfield. I know it's not the done thing to pay up.
The Calvinator's doing it this week.
I think Whitfield's one of those guys. I said this about Dacos 2 weeks ago, and but I don't know. I'm not that convinced on Holmes, but I've had him since day dot, so I'm a bit biased there. And I'm not convinced on Josh Dacos either. I think he's fine, but I reckon. I know this wasn't a name brought up, but before the Short news, I was pretty keen on Bergman. I wouldn't mind Bergman as if you wanted to get a cheaper guy, maybe you could get a
Well, so you
Bergman
you thinking maybe Bice to Bergman and short to Whitfield if you can do that, maybe. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, he may not be able to stretch to Whitfield, but who else is there that you don't have? Wanganeen Miller, who else is around that?
Also,
Well, if he's got
Yeah,
in that first
Sheasels
option, he's going Hayes to Simpson, so you'd be able to forward Bice to Bergman and then go up to Whitfield if you're doing the same train.
Yeah,
So
all right. Yeah, I'd like. Oh God, yeah, I'd be doing that if I could.
I would look at that. Just obviously looking at buys. Round 12 is the one with Bergman. That would be the one I'd be looking at. So if you can handle a round 12 buy player, I think you could potentially look at doing something like that. So I think Simpson's a guy you can still bring in next week. He's going to be 300k, and I feel like with these rookies, I almost want to see 2 weeks this year and see that they're in the team and then bring them in instead of normally I'm like 1 week and bring them in, but this week you'll see 2 weeks.
I need to wait until they're 400k before I can trust it.
Like I personally think Riley Hardeman's the best downgrade this week.
Yeah. Cooper Simpson's the 22nd player in that Freo side. He could be the 23rd and be the sub. Like there's so much cattle in that Freo or in the Peel side that could come in at an age, or someone like Wagner goes back to half back. Like there's so much that can go wrong. Cooper Simpson, if he plays the rest of the year, he'll be great and make lots of money.
Who are Freo playing again?
GWS. It's not great.
GWS.
Oh yeah, no. Wagner will be, I reckon, running with Green or something.
I just don't see Wagner being able to run with Green though. Green's like 3 times the size of the bloke.
Yeah, I mean, not a hard tag, but just a run with. That's what he was doing that last week against Dacos.
Yeah, I was at the Freo game, and Dacos played in the Swan River. He was that far forward because of Wagner.
Hey, props to what was the name of the person that just sent that in? Bales in Netherlands.
Buki.
Props for staying on top of the news in a different time zone. Great effort.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
As someone who spent time in the UK, it is difficult.
And again, as someone that was in the US when the AFLW season was on, and that's again same times as the AFL games, it is a bit tricky. But then again, I'm a bit of a night owl, so it didn't affect me too much. But yes, I agree. It is very different when you're not in the same time zones. Tom as well. I think there's like with your mic, there's just like a little bit of like rattling. I'm not sure if that was like
sorry.
Well,
all
good. Just so that you know, in case anyone comes out with the pitchforks and says someone's audio is not good. So I thought we'd get on top of that now. But we've got another couple of super chats here. So Tony Ford's got this one. I'll go to Tom for this one here. Sinclair, Josh Dacos, or Holmes to bring in. So pretty common sort of question with a lot of these guys. How would you order those 3?
So I think I would put Josh Dacos last. I'm not a believer in the slightest. I think he's fine. I think he's a decent draft player. I just don't see that's Collingwood's system and him in particular pumping out 100, 102 average, where I can see the other two. I can see a world where the other two do that. I think depending on how many round 12 guys around 13 guys you have. So do you own the Wang? Do you own Marshall? Do you own Brayshaw? So Wrong maybe next week if he turns it around this week.
Philippo,
McRae. Maybe you have to pass on Sinclair, and Holmes is that 31k or 30k cheaper. I also have owned Holmes for a while, and it's not been a good watch. But last week was a vast improvement for 3 out of the 4 quarters.
So you're going Sinclair, Holmes, Josh Dacos.
I think it's Sinclair, Holmes, Josh Dacos. If you think if your cash gen's poor and you think the 30k can be helpful next week, split it that way with a great round 16 buy for Holmes.
Yeah. I think because normally I've actually been this week. I've been Holmes, Josh Dacos, and Sinclair as my order. I just like Holmes the most, just with that round 16 buy. But I've sort of now maybe flipping to Sinclair back ahead of Josh Dacos. But I think all 3 are solid options. And I think a few people are asking like, where would you put Nick Martin in the list? I think all of us would probably say that Nick Martin's our favourite out of those guys with the round 16 buy, defender forward, Richmond next week. But yeah, if you can't get Nick Martin, I think
defender forward's the big one for me. Like that's going to be. I see him and you bring him in as a defender, and he'll end up a forward.
Yes, exactly.
The end of the year.
Yeah, for sure. Got another super chat here from Jack Main. So thank you, mate. Jordox. So thinking I trade both TDK and short out, definitely. For anyone asking if I trade TDK out, you have to trade TDK out. There's no cover. He's playing tonight. You trade him. Don't worry about it. Short, you might be able to loop some defenders if you've got like a trainer on the bench, or if you've got someone on the bench you can loop. Well, we train you can't actually because they play at the same time. But if you've got someone else to loop, maybe you could do that. But anyway,
you can still put trainer on the. If you've got another red dot, you can still put trainer on the bench.
Yes, exactly. And you might have someone.
You still can loop him, but not with short.
Yes, exactly.
On a shot, yeah.
But yeah, Jack Main saying, so thinking of trading both TDK and short out, or I can hold short, field someone else who would be options for them to, and still have Cleary at F6. Worry. I don't, to be honest with Cleary, so I'm looping him tonight to see if I can bench Lindsay for Cleary. I think Cleary's going to have a good game tonight. Carlton are a high stoppage team. We know Cleary pushes up the ground and gets those tackles. And when he is tackling, he normally goes over 60. So I'm actually thinking a 60-plus score for Cleary is definitely on the cards tonight. So I don't think I'm too worried about him. Everyone this week is going to be probably playing a rookie that they don't like on field. So I think you're fine with Cleary there. But is TDK and short, are they both trade outs for you, Jordox? And I guess if you've got no cash, where are you going sort of there? Is TDK to Marshall and then just going short to the best you can get? Or where are you sort of trying to go for Bergman maybe if you can't get anyone you like? Where are you thinking?
Yeah, I reckon if you don't have cash, although you probably don't need to go all the way down to Bergman. What do you need to get DeConning to Marshall? Is it like 50K, 40K?
No, it's like 19K.
Yeah, 19K,
okay.
yeah.
So it's much of
exactly
a muchness. So short's not worth much. So yeah, I don't know. I reckon going a little bit cheaper and banking some cash for next week makes a bit of sense, rather than trying to pick another 800K defender that, I was looking at that today. There wasn't anyone that I was too excited about.
So if they had zero cash, there's no one even here I'd be remotely considering.
One I'd consider is Peatling if you've got DPP.
Yeah, Peatling's the one.
Yeah, DPP, and you have a trainer on your bench, say, you could trade short to Peatling, move trainer on field, and be able to move that if you can.
I would do that.
You need a defender somewhere else. Like I've still got Sam Wicks, and he's great. And so he's just slotted in my defensive line while I've done some reshuffles this week.
Yeah, so Jordox, if you had to split Jordox, Bergman and Peatling, you going Peatling?
I reckon I've lost you boys.
Have you? No, we can still hear you, mate. Tom, would you go Peatling over Bergman?
Yeah, I think so. I think Peatling now has a top three role in that Crows midfield. They do have a horrid run, but Peatling
they do. But I think these games are hard. I think it can be contested. I think that's a game where Peatling can actually get those tackles.
And that's what I was just about to say. That might actually suit Peatling. Bergman could be an absolute smash, but he's around 12. We have lots of round 12 players who aren't moving from your sides. Like you probably have a Sheasel, you might have a Chera, Daniel, Rosie, Cherry, JHF, any Dogs boys. Like you might still have a Sanders kicking around, or Fraser or Bailey Dale or something. Like, and that is a worry bringing around 12. So that's probably why I would say Peatling if you can. If you can't, the best you can get to is Bergman. Love it. Do it. Bank your cash. You'll love it next week when you can trade out a Cornerstone type and up to a premium.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, Jack, hopefully that helps there. Camo's got a super chat. Thank you, mate. I don't know if we'll get Jordox back on. He's having trouble with that, but we'll see if we can get him back on. But Camo says, hey, lads, do I go short up to Holmes or get Bergman and bank 250K for next week? With the cash next week, I can go rookie down to Filippo next week. I'm probably going Holmes. The round 16 bye is quite important. Like, I don't know about you, Tom, but for me, I've only got Bailey Smith, Connor Stone, and Levi Ashcroft on round 16. I'm actually trying to bring in round 16 bye players over the next probably 3 weeks. So I'm actually targeting a few of these guys. So you agree? Would you go Holmes and you can always get Bergman next week?
Yeah, for me, I think you get the player who could possibly be close to the top of the line while you can. We can have a look at Bergman. He's priced at 69, and it's a very nice price, pun intended. But he's not going to be priced out of us next week if he shows that he's going to be a 90 averaging midfielder.
So Bergman's break even 63, right? He'll still be about 700k. Like, he's still going to be cheap, and you can have a look at him. But the other defender to flag, I put it in on Twitter earlier, but Callum Mills playing in the VFL today, played just over a half, scored 80 points, and by all reports looked pretty good in that first half. And if you're scoring, he scored 77 in the first half. I think he had one kick in the first couple of minutes, and then they obviously said that's it. He was only going to play a half. So yeah, he had. I'm just getting his stats here. 19 disposals, 6 marks, 3 tackles, and a goal. And people at the ground said he was playing in the midfield. So that's a very, very good sign. And could be someone. I think he's a perfect round 12 pick. Like at the buys, if he comes in next week, you watch him for a week, bang, you launch on, and I think it's
Kitty Coleman as well.
Yep, this week as well.
He's named this week.
I'm still worried he's going to be subbed out, so I don't know if I'd launch in this week unless.
Oh, I'm not launching without seeing, but I'm saying it's someone flagging super cheap. You can go rookie down to. You can go rookie down to him.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can maybe go buy stand to him, right? In a week or two.
I wouldn't do it this week. This week I would wait. He's not gonna. You're not gonna price out of him next week. Jarrod Berry being injured this week is great for him because it means Fletcher will probably just push up onto a wing, and Kiddie slots into that halfback role. But we'll have to watch next week what happens when Berry's back from his concussion, and we'll see how that half-back, wing, half-forward mix shakes out at Brisbane.
Yeah, exactly. Klopp has got a super chat here as well, and I think we got Jordox back as well. So we'll go to Jordox for this one. So Klopp, I know Fat does some good content for Supercoach and that on Twitter. So shout out to you, Klopp. I know you just become a Patreon member, so very much appreciate the support and the super chat here as well. Saying, hey guys, sitting 64th overall, so going on very, very nicely.
Well done, mate.
Torn on trade in. So first option is going Philippo and Sinclair with a nicer run, or B going Kitty Coleman and Dunkley or Dawson, which is better for my buyers. Which way do you lean, Jordox? Where would you be going?
I'm seduced by B. I think that looks nicer, but you just, you got to protect yourself because Coleman doesn't play till Sunday, and it wouldn't be that much of a stretch to say he starts as the sub. Yeah. I think that could hurt.
I agree. I think it'll be Conor McKenna, but it definitely could be Coleman.
Yeah. Or even, I think you said before, Bales, I was just sort of getting back in, but, even a likely sub out for Coleman, in the third quarter, if the job's done, they might just rest him.
If it's better for buys, obviously he's going Philippo and Sinclair. If he doesn't have Holmes, would you go Philippo and Holmes and get that round 16 buy? Because obviously he's getting Coleman and looking at a Dunkley who's got the round 16 buy, or Dawson round 15. Would you just go Philippo and Holmes to fix the buys?
I'm not big on Holmes, so don't ask me. I mean, maybe Klopp already has him. But Sinclair I do like.
I don't like Philippo. That's the thing that's really kicking me. I just don't like the Philippo pick.
Boxall's out and Mason Wood's come in, so that I think
what I said on the show on Sunday has happened. Mason Wood has come in and Boxall's gone out, so it does mean there is a space in that midfield rotation. But it also means that there's still Windhager who's been playing on a wing, who can easily play as a CBA mid, given who would you tag at West Coast.
I've come around to the idea of getting Philippo this week. I got him last week, trying to be clever, but just everything I've seen and heard this week has made me think I actually can see him scoring 90 on Sunday. So I reckon you can do it.
It's against us, and we're horrendous. So my one flag is if he continues to play as a forward, the reason why he's this cheap is because he sucked as a forward last year. Like, that's why
Nah,
he's cheap. He's not.
yeah,
It's not.
I've seen enough from Ross Lyon that they want him in the midfield. It's going to happen. It's just whether it's. I
This
think this
week
is the
or in a
perfect
couple of weeks,
game.
yeah.
I think this is the perfect game to throw him in there and
Fair
just
enough.
start to warm him up with
Yeah.
respect to your Eagles.
Yeah.
Oh, we're bad. There's no respect. We are horrendous.
You know what?
I'm option A.
Just on that, as an aside, I wouldn't be surprised if there was an
If we
upset.
beat them. Yeah. It's just a very Eagles Sunday afternoon home win. It's just
You
got
just
home
got to
win.
You've got to win at some point, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
But yeah, option A for me there, Klopp. But I also don't. If I knew Coleman wasn't going to be subbed out, I'd almost go the second one. But I'll go Philippo and Sinclair. Buki Boonda, thank you again for a super chat. Again, he said he's done it. He's gone short and biased to Bergman and Whitfield with 18k left. So that's a tick from us. Whitfield is expensive, but if you get him in round 16 buy, you can
chuck a VC on him this week as well.
Yeah, could be an option there. Castle of Riches, JHF, a trade or keep, was trading Bice to Green and Garcia to Simpson. Hon Francis, if you got him, is a keep because it's illness. At worst case, he doesn't play this week and you just cop the Cleary or whoever you got on the bench. But it sounds like he'll play. Maybe he doesn't play as well, but you keep him. You don't do that. So I'd be still trading Bice to Green and Garcia to Simpson if you don't have Short and TDK, which would be pretty nice and a good situation to be in. But I appreciate the super chat there. Castle of Riches.
One thing I will say is I would try and make sure Simpson's in your utility spot, just in case he's the sub. So you have some flexibility about grabbing a Travalia or Angove, who are Angove plays in that game, just so you can flip flop, just in case it's the sub.
Yeah, just to give you a bit of flexibility. I agree. Juice has got a super chat as well. Thank you, mate. What about the Juicy Blitzarves, or am I too crazy? You're on the right track, and I considered this heavily because the round 16 buy. I love that. But Reece Stanley is an emergency. He's back fit, so I wouldn't be going anywhere near that because we know Geelong. If Stanley was out for a few weeks, I'd consider it heavily because I like the price. I like the run for Geelong's rucks, but yeah, not for me. I like your thinking though, Juice, because that was where I was thinking as well. But unfortunately with that, not too great with Stanley right there. And final super chats, I want to get through captains and then keep going through a heap of questions. But Chris, appreciate that. We'll answer any super chats after this one. Like in a short bit, we'll go through captains and stuff. But Chris has said, who scores more, Cleary, Lindsay, or El Hawley for cover for Short? We'll have a big war chest upgrade Short next week. So Tom, who would you be backing in out of those three? I've probably got it in that order personally.
Yes, because I don't think we can be sure about El Hawley's non-subbing. That bench looks very El Hawley sub.
Yeah, agreed. Yep, exactly. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Cleary tonight against Carlton? What are your thoughts with him?
I think he could be fine if you can loop that in any way. That would be great.
Yeah, perfect loop.
I think Clear is probably the one. If I had to straight up it, I'd go him for the best floor. Oh, Bales has gone as well.
Oh, has he?
Yeah,
I'm here.
You're here.
Yeah.
Just me and you. Good. No, I think he got the best floor, which I think is the most important.
I mean, I must say, if El Hawley avoids the sub, I mean, look what he did last week. I know Essendon feasted, but yeah, I really like him. I just wish they'd put him on the field so we could have some confidence that he's on there. But last named on the bench again.
He's been a good scorer when he's played, so hopefully he can get a good run at it, but I guess we will see. But I'll quickly go through captains. If people want a bit more of a deep dive from the captains, and check out the video from yesterday, and I'll go through my top 10 there, but I'll quickly whiz through my top 10 and let you know who I've got. So at number 1 this week, I have got Tristan Cherry. Richmond, good matchup for Rucks, and he scored a 150 against them last year, so I expect the big X, who's scored over 116 in each of his last 4 games, to get it done once again. I bumped Harry Sheasel down from 1 to 2. I said that in the video yesterday that he was at number 2, and my original list from yesterday before I recorded was actually Sheasel, but hearing that news about him as a mid-forward potentially, just bumped him down one list, but still, even if he's in this mid-forward role, Richmond are still a great matchup. They are the best matchup for mids, and still a pretty good matchup for forwards. So even if Sheezel was in that role, still expect him to go well. Ryan Marshall is at number 3 against West Coast. Still slight flag that both Bailey Williams and Matt Flynn are in there, but I still think Marshall will still be able to beat either of those guys there and put up a good score. And he's been pretty good against West Coast in his last few there. So I expect him to go well. And West Coast are the easiest matchup for Rucks by far this year. Josh Dunkley at number 4. He's got Melbourne this week at the Gabba. So it's at the Gabba. So obviously he loves scoring up there at the Gabba. But Melbourne have been good for mids. And also Dunkley's record against Melbourne is ridiculous. 120.9 average in his career 8 games and scored a 158 and a 123 against them last year. So I really like Dunkley if you've got him as an option. Tim English at number 5. His past couple against Essendon have been great, but he's up against Goldie, who I think he'll be able to run him ragged all over the ground and get to a good score. And he's been very good. Besides last week where he went 92 against which at the end of the day isn't a bad score against Jared Witts because he's been very restrictive. So English I like at number 5. Got Whitfield at 6 against Freo. I think he'll go pretty well. I guess slight flag that maybe someone goes with him, but he's shown an ability to, doesn't matter if anyone goes with him, he can still get it done. So he is at 6. Jordan Dawson is at number 7. He was a little bit high early in the week, but hearing a little bit of rain, just bumped down a couple of slots just because I don't think the marks will be there, but I think the tackles will be there to make up for it. He's got a pretty good record at MCG and scored a 172 a couple of years ago there. So I like him, and he went a 117 against them at the G last year. So like Dawson, and he had a 134 at the MCG earlier this year. Zach Merritt at number 8. Don't think any attention will go to him against the Dogs. Dogs been a little bit more restrictive this year, but I still think Merritt is good enough to be in the top 10. Bailey Smith at number 9, highest averaging player this year, but had to make the top 10 even in a tough matchup against Port at Adelaide Oval. A very good VC if you're looking at him there. Maybe get some attention, but we will see. And then I've got Nasai at Wangani Miller at number 10 against West Coast at Optus. I think that's a perfect round for him to score at. And West Coast haven't been easy for defenders, especially Optus, but I think Nasai can get it done. Dane Zorko probably the one unlucky one that didn't make it there against Melbourne. I don't mind him, but he would be probably a straight captain for a lot of people there. And I'll flag also Max Gawn. There is obviously talk. I think Drew Jones flagged that he reckons that Max Gawn might be up against Darcy Fox. He thinks Oscar McInerney might be a late withdrawal. Apparently his back's been giving him some issues. So that would just be something to watch. But if Gawn is up against Darcy Fort, he'd be probably fit in there at number 5, I would say. Probably a top 5 option. So something to watch there with Big Gawny. So I'm going at this stage, Tristan Cherry VC into Rowan Marshall captain. That's what I'm doing. I've got Hasty and Boyd and Boxall now as well as my red dots in that final game. So red dots galore in that last one. Tom, who are you going with your captain and vice captain this week?
Currently, I'm on the same. I need to do some. I've got Boyd and Boxall. I just need to make sure that I'm just a little bit scared about Boyd with the West Coast playing 2 rucks. I'm just a little bit scared. So I want Tristan Cherry's score because I think it's going to be huge. So I might find a VC before Buslinger plays tomorrow. And just give that a crack, just so I can use Buslinger's red dot. So yeah. But I think at this stage it's same as you, Cherry into Marshall.
Yep, I like it. Jordox, what are you looking at doing?
At the moment, I've just got the V on Dacos still. I'm pretty happy to leave it there. I think he's a proud player. I think he'll bounce back, and I'm hoping our Crows can nullify him. But back on the G, I don't know. I reckon he might score pretty well. Be a nice unique if he does, and then I'll just roll into Cherry, I reckon, on Sunday.
Yeah, I like it. I'm still. A few people have said maybe does Peatling go with Dacos? Maybe does a Berry, Keys? I still think there's a good chance that it's going to be Alex Neil-Bullen. I think Neil-Bullen did the job at Melbourne last year, and I just think I don't think Crows will start a tag, but I think if it gets out of hand and he goes really well, I think that they might put someone there, and I think it could be Neil-Bullen. He's done the job; it's been successful. Yeah. So I think there's a chance that happens, but it could be a number of players there. So just something to.
I reckon you're on the money there. Neil-Bullen will get first crack for sure, but he was running with Rosie last week, and Rosie was running circles around him. So. Be interesting, but Crows will have someone with him. It's just, I think he'll be able to score pretty well. Hopefully in a loss.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we are waiting. We've got 2 minutes to go until we get subs announced. So that'll probably either make everyone start panicking or everyone will have a big sigh of relief.
I'm on the job too, boys. So I am going to be posting that in 2 minutes.
Yep. So we'll get breaking news as soon as you find out, Jordox. You'll be letting us know. So there you go. But we will get to a heap of your questions now. So there is a heap of questions in the chat here. So just to make it a bit easier, because there's so much to scroll through, just chuck your comment or your question at the very bottom of the live chat and comment them now, and we'll get to answering a heap of those from now. For about a good 20 minutes or so. And then I'll be jumping on the watch along. So it'd be good to see a heap of your legends there. We got a good sort of amount of people there. The goal is we have 100 likes on the watch longs, but it'd be good to have 100 people at once watching. So if anyone is free tonight, wants to tune into the watch long, I normally go live either of Thursday, Friday, or Saturday night, or potentially all three. They're the nights I try and do it for. So if you want to tune in and see me rage at players I don't have that score well, or complain about players I've got that scoring poorly, then feel free to tune in as we do that there. Let's go through these. Isaac Tierney says, short to Nick Mann, thoughts? Tick, tick from all of us. You get that here. He's a great option this week. Patrick Jordox, I've got Oliver, Short, and TDK. Which one goes this week and to who? So is it Short and TDK that have to go because they're both injured?
Yeah.
Well, it depends what your short coverage is. But yeah, I'd say most likely.
Yeah. I think we were saying before that if you can go like Short to Holmes and TDK to Marshall, or Sinclair or someone, if you can't afford that, then you can either go to Peatling through some DPP, or maybe a Bergman is the option and bank a little bit of cash there. But yeah, TDK to Marshall. My favourite is still Tristan Cherry if you don't have him. But yep, Jordox.
I just on Oliver. I actually think he goes to Neil and tags again this week.
I'm assuming Bice isn't the sub, knowing
he is. Ollie Florent is the sub.
Yes.
With Jordan Boyd.
Bicey, our lad is safe. So Bicey is not the sub for anyone that was worried about that. So there you go. But I'm surprised that Tom's the one breaking the news. I thought Jordox would the one with being the AFL subs account would be the one. But
I
Tom's
literally refreshed my
early.
page as the ticker went to 59.59 and it was there.
Yeah. There you go. Cool. All right. That's a sigh of relief for everyone there. But yes, very, very good. Max Hansen, TDK to Marshall, and then out of Short and Oliver, who goes this week to Holmes? Tom, is it Short if you can go either guy out to Holmes and just have Oliver for another week?
I think so. If you can if your defensive bench is looking strong, and you can have a look at a Bice tonight who wouldn't normally be on field, or a Wicks tonight, or somebody else, Matt Carroll, if you might have him tonight. If you have a look,
yeah, I've got him. Mm-hmm. I hope he's not the sub. He's not the sub, is he?
No, it's Jordan Boyd.
Yes. I was worried about that as well, but yes, Carroll, good.
If you can have a look at someone tonight, and if they go well, I would hold Short and trade Oliver. The fact that he hasn't been Richmond are usually pretty good. If this was Geelong, I'd be a little bit more worried. But I think he was actually fairly close to playing this week because it was the calf soreness, but he's back out with that knee not feeling quite right. So it could be the start. I think trading Short isn't a definite trade, but I think you trade him if you don't have good bench cover.
Yeah. And because Oliver, if Oliver plays this week, there's a chance that he scores a 50 or a 60 and tags again and goes down 60k and you've lost a heap of cash. But yeah, it depends on who your cover is. But yeah, if you don't have cover or your cover doesn't go very well, Short goes and you just have to keep Oliver for a week. I know a few people have got those three.
There's no Viney again. That's the thing. There's no Viney for Melbourne who's been doing that tagging role. So Oliver might be doing it again. And it might actually be a Dunkley just because the body type matchup. I just think Neil runs circles around him if they play on each other.
Yeah, I don't think he'll tag Dunkley, so maybe he doesn't tag anyone. Who knows? But
possibly. Yeah, but he tagged Jai Newcomb of all people.
Yeah, exactly. Josh has got this question. Jordox, I don't know if he's on mute. I don't know if he's still answering questions. We'll go to him, and if he's not free, I know he's free. There you go. Hey, boys, TDK and Oliver to Holmes and Marshall have got 1K left over. Well, actually, I should have read that first because the tick for me, because they're the exact same 2 trades I'm doing. So I hope that they're good trades. But I'll ask Jordox. Jordox, are they good trades? Me and Josh want to know.
I'm nervous about Holmes, but yeah, I think it works. Just
we didn't get the full answer there from Jordox, but all I heard was it said it works. So yeah, we'll take it. So,
I think Jordox isn't too happy about Holmes, and as a fellow owner, I know exactly where he's coming from. He's got 2 60s and a 70 in the last 4.
Where do you think he was better last week, and where do you think Bergman?
I think you've got to tag Bailey Smith, surely.
Yeah.
Surely you've got to go.
Know. Yeah, I don't know if you can. But he's a.
But I feel like if you're going to tag Holmes will just go back in defence, and Bergman's not forward. So I think it'll just be if Holmes is getting tagged, he'll go in defence. Whereas Bailey Smith is.
And it wasn't like a clampy tag. It was it was more of the old-fashioned, cooler kind of. I'm going to stand next to you at stoppage, but I'm still going to try and get my own ball. Like he's got 117, 118 off his own bat. Like it wasn't just that.
Yeah,
it wasn't like a
23 touches and like 12 tackles, I reckon. But Dawson only had 14 touches. I mean, no one does that to Jordy.
Like no. I don't think it's a. I'm only looking. I'm not. I don't care where the ball is. I care about you. It's kind of. I care about you, and I care about the ball.
Yeah,
it's kind of like what Josh Dunkley kind of does for Brisbane at times, where I'm gonna go against your big-bodied mid, but I'm not purely only focusing on negating. So I don't think. But I think someone's going to try and go with one of them.
Yeah.
It's just
we'll have to.
Yeah,
we'll have to see. We'll see tomorrow
boys,
afternoon.
I'm gonna jump off, fellas.
All good.
Because
appreciate you jumping on for
the kids in
40 minutes. Not sure if we'll see you on Sunday or not, because I know you are busy Sunday. But where can the people find you across the socials, and where can they find the Finders Keepers podcast?
At Jordox 2020 on X and at Find Keep AFL on X is where you'll find Finders Keepers. And I did a tweet today about Angus Sheldrick, who's 400k in Classic. I reckon he goes close to a ton tonight. So have a watch for that one.
It could be a sneaky option.
And have a great weekend, everyone. Hope teams go well for you and you get some good scores. And most importantly, calm the Crows tomorrow.
Yes, exactly right. Go the Crows. And we'll chat to you soon, Jordox. Thanks for jumping on today, and we'll catch you soon.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye. Lockie Gillespie, can you tick off Huswaite and TDK to Hardiman and English have got short? Huswaite, TDK, no defender cover, and we'll have to play Marias ready for a shocking round. Well, obviously, you've traded Huswaite already, and TDK's got to go over short. So, yes, tick for me. Hardiman will be your cover for short. And I actually don't mind English if you want to go for someone a bit different. He's a little bit more expensive. If you've got like a Gorn or someone like that, you could go someone different. But if you don't have Cherry, I still think he is my number one option there. And I like Marshall for his value, but I don't mind English as a bit of a differential option there. But Tom, want to go for you this one here. Jordan Tran saying Bison short to Filippo and Nick Martin, or Mariason short to Coleman and Nick Martin. Is this a case where you would tick off getting a Kaneen Coleman?
Yeah, I think so.
Because essentially I think that Jordan will be looping between Bison and Coleman, I reckon.
Yeah, if that's the case, then yes.
You get Nick Martin either way. You're just getting Coleman over Filippo, but you're getting rid of Marias over Bice.
I think you can do that. I do worry about some kind of vest for Coleman, but I think you can. I'm always nervous bringing somebody in that hasn't played yet. And yes, he played VFL last week, but it's not the same. Like Braden Fiorini has 45 touches every week in the VFL, so
yeah,
it's not the best comp in the world.
Yeah, exactly. What have we got here? Bella's got this question. Best I can get for short is Rivers, or should I go to Coleman, Bergman, or Reed to have 200k to upgrade next week? So there's an interesting one. So we talk about Coleman, we talk about Bergman. Zach Reed, round 16 by, you can't jump back on? Because I think if you jump back on, right, you need to be going 85 plus from here.
Yeah, I just don't. He look at last week's game. Sydney's forward pressure didn't exist. They literally played in a soccer, I can't call it soccer term. They tried to park the bus and put everyone behind the ball and let the back six of Essendon play chip to chip. They didn't care. I don't think you can go to Reed. He's a key defender. And he's already put 30 this year, earlier in the year, 40s, 50s. He's now priced at nearly 70. I think you're bringing him in, you've got to be expecting 15 points of upside to be a good pick. I just don't think he's got that. I see Bergman as a possibility to have that 15 points of upside for the same price. So I think I'd go to Bergman this week over both Kiddie and 100k cheaper Kiddie.
The only way I'm getting him is if I'm doing what Jordan's doing to get him on the bench. I cannot get into him first week. I'm definitely Bergman out of the three. I'm not jumping on Reed. I know that it sucks if you trade him out on Anzac Day and you've missed the 3 scores, but you got to get on the next guy now because you're not going to gain anything. Because if he pops a bad score this week, everyone's trading him out anyway, and you've only just jumped on, so it's a waste. So
he's not going 118 this week.
Yeah. No, exactly. I don't think he will be, but who knows? John Sanders says, let's go Bice. Oliver can still go then and get rid of Short next week. If Bice is your cover for Short, for sure. Yeah, if Bice is your cover for Short, you can do that. Louis O'Leary, always looking forward to your videos, Bales. Love your work. Thank you, mate. Very much appreciate the kind words there, Louis. Appreciate that. Next one, trade Bice or Davidson, says Corey. Davidson for me.
Davidson.
Yep.
Bice has an easier route to better scores, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree. Tim Ashworth saying he's got Oliver and Short with 99k in the bank. What should he do? Without looking at your team,
I assume that's with like a ruck trade already happened. I assume you just got one trade.
I don't think Tim's got TDK. I don't think so. I would be going, if you can, Short to Nick Martin, and then Oliver to Peatling. If you've already got Nick Martin, then maybe you go Short to a Max Holmes or a Jack Sinclair, and then go Oliver, maybe still to Peatling, bank a little bit of cash for next week, and then maybe you go get a Noah Anderson next week, just because I don't know.
The other way, if you fancy rolling the dice, you could do Short to Bergman, Oliver to Tom Green. If you fancy getting a big mid, you can do the opposite of that trade.
That's another one. So there's a few options there for you, Tim, if you want to go there.
Yeah, I think.
Archie's got this one, Short to Holmes or Clark or Ryan. Time for me out of those three.
Holmes. I know Jordy Clark's an interesting one. I don't like Luke Ryan. His way to score points is nothing short of disgusting. His only access to points is a 15-metre sideway kick to him. Whereas Jordy at least has handball receives, gets higher up the ground. I just see it, but I'll go Max Holmes out of all three.
Yeah. Kent Hodder says, are we ready for the Lindsay vest? I don't think he'll get the vest. I don't see a reason why he would get the vest. If he did, then obviously that would mean I'd have to bench him. But hopefully Cleary just gets it done for me tonight and I can just bring him on anyway. But looking at that Melbourne bench, you've got Aiden Johnson, Xavier Lindsay, Cade Chandler, Harry Petty, and Daniel Turner. It won't be Petty. It won't be Chandler. I don't think it'll be Lindsay.
He could get the sub out of those 5.
I think it'll be one of Turner or Johnson. I think it'll be one of those guys.
Tolls. Well, I suppose.
Yeah, but both of them can play as either backup ruck or as a defender or forward. Well, Johnson might not be, but Turner can play defender or forward. So I think it'll be
maybe
Turner. Better not be bloody Lindsay. I'll tell you that right now.
He could be, but
that right now. What do we got here? Resh says Coleman, Filippo, or Bergman. Who would you field this week? It'd be one of Bergman or Filippo. You're not playing Coleman. If you've got all three, unless it's a draft one, but if you're ranking them on, probably Bergman, Filippo, Coleman.
Yeah, I think Filippo probably scores better this week just because they're playing West Coast.
Yeah, maybe you go him first, then maybe you go Filippo, Bergman, Coleman. But it's those two and then Coleman third.
I think, yeah. I agree with that.
Fast break frenzy. Here's my problem. Currently doing Clary to Nick Martin, leaving Jaiden short with Bice's loop tonight. If Bice scores low, who do I trade in since I wouldn't have enough for Martin with short? So if you don't have enough for Martin with short, obviously I'd bring in a Max Holmes, a Jack Sinclair, Josh Dacos, one of those three. But a few people are worried about Bison saying that he's not going to score well. The big reason that he's been doing poorly last couple of weeks is because Ben Patton's been in the team. Ben Patton's not there anymore. And his run actually from now to the bye is actually not bad. Carlton's not great, but I think people probably lost a bit of faith in. Yeah, I think people lost a bit of faith in Bicey. We just got to remember he does have a pretty big ceiling, and besides that 44, that 66 was his lowest score. So I think that 44, I'm just writing off as just a very bad game. And if your guy's getting 66 on field, that's again better than a lot of these other rookies, and he's also a bit older. So I think Bicey's actually going to have a good game tonight. I think he goes 70 plus tonight and has a decent score. XX Defenders Bro says, what's the best trade? SDK out for Whitfield or Bice out for Zorko? Oh, if you can do the first one, SDK to Whitfield over Bice to Zorko.
SDK is playing key back, get rid.
And he's playing against Port. SDK's got to go for sure. Yeah. Love it. Definitely tick that trade off. Josh Hopkins, Jackson and Holmes or Coleman and Marshall? Ooh, geez, funny enough, I don't like either because I like Holmes, I like Marshall, but I don't like. I would go Marshall and then Bergman.
Marshall and Coleman. It would be Marshall and Coleman if you.
It would be Marshall and Coleman, but if you can do Marshall and Bergman, I'd prefer that.
Well, that's 100K.
Yeah, but if you're doing Jackson and Holmes, clearly he's like 20-30K off of getting Holmes and Marshall. So that's why I'm saying I'd go Marshall and Bergman. So I'd be doing that one.
Yes.
Yeah, but don't love either. Or if you've got a plan to trade Jackson after this week, but I don't love banking in trades. So
he's going to be great this week. Like Jackson will be great this week, but then he's a problem.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. Fast break frenzy. Here's my problem. Currently doing Clarida. I know we said that before. We answered that one before. Jai, I have short TDK and Oliver. Do I play Matt Carroll and keep short to get rid of Oliver, or should I get rid of short to someone else, maybe Luke Ryan? Well, Jai, the good thing is you can look at Matt Carroll tonight, right? If you loop him, if he goes well, if he scores, I'd 60. Say I'd take a 60, 65, somewhere around there. If he goes over 60, I'd probably take it, and then you trade Oliver. But if he goes under that, then you just
trade
short.
With Clary, I probably would even take a 55 and trade Oliver.
I think it's a 60, but yes, if he gets a 55, you can have that have the conversation. But yeah, it's an interesting one there. Hutchmate, Rome Marshall and an 854K defender. He's looking at Coleman or Jackson, Holmes or Clark. So there's very similar question before. I think we said we'd go Ryan Marshall and Coleman if you had to, but we'd both prefer Bergman. So that's where we'd be going there. Crinkly cut, Short and Daniel to Martin and Holmes. Yep, tick here. Love it for sure. Caleb Daniel have a good. Caleb Daniel will probably go well this week, but I'm happy trading. He's got round 12 buy and he's not a top 6 forward, so he can do that. Timmy Tom's got a super chat. Thank you, mate. Warner or Peatling or anyone under 920K. If you had to pick between those two.
This is hard.
I think I'm going Peatling.
I think
a bit of cash, and he's making a bit of cash, and you can trade him around 14. But I know he's saying that because Warner hasn't really sort of tickled my fancy. Like, he hasn't really gone like,
the CVA. I'm quite bullish about Warner. I have Warner, so I'm biased. But I think I would go Peatling. So I think you can do lots of things with that 70K next week, which you'll really enjoy.
Apparently, there's some more big news, unfortunately. Shout out to Taser, who sent it to me, and Jordy also sent me a message. Isaac Rankin, apparently open training at the MCG, went to kick a goal and clutched at his hamstring. So that is something to be aware of, unfortunately. Rankin clutched his ham. He tried to kick a goal running from the boundary. I'm hoping that it's part of a joke because he hates, he does injuries at the MCG all the time, but that is a concern for us. I know a lot of people have got him, including myself. So that would just be Yeah, just another bullet to have to try and deal with. And if it's a hammy, that's going to be
Come on down, Max Hall.
So that if that's the case, that would mean holding Oliver and trading Rankin instead. But that is hope that that's not the case. But Taser sent me that. So just keep an eye on it.
I just think you hold rank. When's the Crows play?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow when?
First game.
First game. So we're going to find that out.
Yeah, we'll find out. The Crows will put out saying before. If it's a hamstring, I'm trading. I'm not holding. If it's a hamstring, it's got a hard run anyway, and I'll have to hold Oliver, which will suck. But
yeah, and I think if you're trading Rankin, you just go Peatling.
I won't be able to. I have to get a defender this week for me. Martin. But yes, if you've, then
you just get Martin.
I don't know if I'd be able to afford. I don't think I could afford Nick Martin.
What is Rankin priced at?
I'll do this after. I'll do this after because I want to answer people's questions. But I know that I'll look at that. But we'll go a couple more here before we finish up. So I've got to get ready for the watch along. Matt says, can I hold short and play 3 rookies down back this week, being Bice, Reed, Trainer with Foss cover for those 3, or loot Bice if he does bad, go short to someone under 900k, or Lindsay to Coleman, Sard on bench? I'd be doing that second option. I'd be looking at what Bice does tonight. And if he goes well, you can hold short. But if he doesn't, you can trade and you can go to someone. Bice, Luke Trainer. I've got Lindsay / Cleary / Carroll. Got a bit of a loop. So I've got the, what is it? And Levi. So I've got the 4. Tom, how many have you got?
Sorry, that was you cut, or I cut out, or you cut out. What was the question?
Just how many rookies you got on the field. So I said I've got Bice, Trainer, Ashcroft, and then one of Lindsay, Carroll, or Cleary.
Yeah, I've got 4, and I'm not happy about it. That's one too many for what I want to be at this stage, but I've got 4. This because I'm trading short. I've got the 3 defensive rookies on field, and Levi.
Yeah. Hutch mate says no way I'm getting Bergman back, already owned in this year for a shit. So yeah, fair enough, mate. If you want to go Kitty Coleman over Bergman, very fair. A Doggy Dog says Cooper Simpson or Riley Hardiman. Riley Hardiman for me is my number 1 rookie downgrade of the week. He's got Richmond this week. Round 12 by sucks, but you can get Cooper Simpson next week. Get Hardiman. He's going to be in the team. I'd be locking him in.
Kai Lohmann's an interesting one as well.
Yeah, something to keep an eye on. Yep, round 16 buy is really helpful. So that's why I'd also go Hardiman, because then you can look at Lohmann and maybe get him next week. So, yeah, I don't mind that one, because Kai Lohmann his price is 382k, break even 63. So it's like he might be almost ready to launch
almost
into.
Ready to launch. If he has a 60, I think he's ready to launch.
Yeah, and he's a guy that you're getting because he's best 22. Zane saying he's short out. Yes, short is confirmed out by Richmond. So he is a trade if you've got him, or maybe have a look at some cover if you can loot them. Henry V. So Phil Cleary and hold Max Hall on the bench in case Rankin is out. Yeah, we'll play Cleary's emergency, loop him, see what he does. And then Max Hall you might hold if you want to. But hopefully he's not. But him clutching the hamstrings, not good. So we'll have to see what's happening there. So final couple of questions. We'll go need for Mead says Bison, Stone to Zorko and Simpson with 304k left, or Lindsay and Daniel to Dunkley and Filippo with 107k left, or Bison short to Zorko and Warner with 123k left.
You've got a war chest, young man.
Yeah, I would actually, I would probably split those, and instead of, if you can go Bison short and you can go one of Holmes, Sinclair, or Josh Dacos in the 900k, and then you can go like a Chad Warner up and get like a Nick Martin, I would do that preferably. Or in saying that as well, if you can do Bison Stone to, because you got 304k left doing that in Zorko and Simpson, if you can go like, yeah, one of those cheaper defenders like a Holmes and that, and you can go Simpson up to Peatling, for example. So I'm thinking, mate, 260, add 300, 500. You might be able to just get there, maybe. That would be a few options I consider. But out of those options, I like the third option the most, the Bison short to Zorko and Warner option.
At this stage of the season, having that much coin not on just sitting there doing nothing is only hurting you. So I wouldn't mind spending a little bit.
Yeah. And we'll go final couple questions, 2 questions here. Louis O'Leary says, please answer in need of advice. Short to Filippo and bank 344k for next week, or short to Martin with 14k left. We'll have to get rid of Lindsay next week as well. I would do the Nick Martin. Get Nick Martin, and you can always get Lindsay up to Filippo next week. So, yep, I'd be doing that one. LM, LM, Short and Daniel to Tom Green and Sinclair. Yep, tick.
Lovely.
Yep.
Lovely.
Yep, tick those. And then final one, Zane saying Whitfield or Sheasel. I'm probably going Whitfield now this week. Just because Sheasel was in that mid-forward role, round 12 bye.
Yeah, Whitfield. No changes for North. I think he's off halfback.
But Josh Simpson's grandma passed away, so they don't quite know if he's going to play, and he's been named. So I'd imagine that Zach Fisher would come in and Shees would have a different role. But I just think Whitfield now with the bye, and they're pretty close price now, and like they were. So, but I'd go Whitfield out of the 2 for this week. And he's saying, should I trade Nod or O'Sullivan? You've still got Nod in your team. You're not trading him now because he's probably going to be back next week. So you're trading Finn O'Sullivan. That's who I'd be trading.
No, Connor O'Sullivan, I would say.
Yeah, if it is Connor O'Sullivan, you trade him anyway. But I'd be trading both O'Sullivans before Nod. I'd just be holding Nod for next week, so he's going to be back. Alrighty, that'll do us for today. But I will be answering more questions on the watch along. So I'll be starting that up in about 15 or so minutes time, maybe 20 minutes, depending on how quickly the podcast exports and stuff. But get your questions down. I'll be answering those for at least 10 minutes before the bounce. So hope to see a heap of you guys there. It'd be good to get 100 people, as I said before, at once shooting in and get a good crowd in there. But we always have a good crowd there, which I appreciate anyone that tunes in to them. But Tom, for people that missed it before, what are your trades in your VC and C?
Trades, I think, are going to be TTDK and Short to Sinclair and Marshall. And I'll be doing Cherry into Marshall, but I think Cherry's going to smash it.
Yeah, so I like it. Yeah, I'm doing the same captain, vice captain, VC Cherry into Marshall. And my trades at this stage, depending on what happens with Rankin, is going to be TDK to Marshall. And I'll be going Oliver to Max Holmes. If for some reason Rankin is out and not playing, I believe I might be able to get Nick Martin over Max Holmes. But we'll have to see with that one there, with what happens. But appreciate everyone that tunes in as always. Tom, thank you very much for jumping on, mate. Where can the people find you across the socials?
I'm on X at Tom_Hales_. Hope everyone has a good week.
Beautiful, mate. Thank you for jumping on. You can find me at BAILSDT, and you can find us at AFL Fantasy Fans across the socials. If you are tuning in live on the video, please smash a like. That'd be very much appreciated. If you're watching on the replay, smash a like as well. It does go a long way to helping out the channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, also do that. We're less than 170 subscribers away from, I think about 160 away now from 4,000 subscribers. That's the big goal, 4K, to join the 4K club. If you haven't subscribed, please do that. And if you'd like a guaranteed answer or a team review, head over to patreon.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics. You get guaranteed answers there. You get team reviews through the Ask Me on Q service. And Patreon members do get that for free, the Ask Me on Q service. So if you'd like to become Patreon, get all bonus content and join in the action, then head over to that or the link in the description below. We'll be back on Sunday night for our usual round review. I believe that'll be straight after the final game. So if it is the exact same time as last week, that will be at about 7:30 Eastern or potentially 8 o'clock, depending on how we go. But somewhere around there, which will be about 6 p.m. per time, roughly. So we'll catch you guys on Sunday night. Have a good weekend. Hopefully not too much carnage. And we'll catch you guys on Sunday or in the watch long. Thanks, everyone. Catch you then. See ya.